Hello and welcome to Art Abandonment Adventures. Today is an art creation day. I will be working on the collection The Joy of Abandonment, series number 4, Character Parade. This is video number 1 of the Character Parade series. In this video, I will be upcycling different character figurines. All of the pieces that are upcycled in this series were purchased at a thrift store. Step number 1 is prepping the pieces. I take and use a disinfectant cloth on all of my secondhand items that removes any oil and anything that might have gotten on the piece before I purchased it. After I wash them off and let them dry, I'll move to step 2, which is priming the pieces. I use a matte paint to completely cover all the pieces, and this just gives a foundation for the base color to stick on. You will want to make thin coats of your primer and base color, especially if you're going to do any customization that requires fine detailing. After I prime all of the pieces, I will let them dry completely before moving on to step number 3, which is painting the base color. I used a matte paint to completely cover all of the figures. Something that you'll immediately notice is that I'm not using traditional colors to paint the figures. For me, the figures are a canvas, and I can choose whatever color I want to paint the figures because I am creating my own art. So it's a fun way of thinking outside of the box. After you finish painting the base color, let the paint dry before moving on to step number 4, which is customizing the pieces. There are 3 techniques that I used when it came to customizing the pieces. The first was setting up a separate color for like the face from the clothes. The second thing I did was fine detailing, and you can tell with this ABC block that I am using the dotting tool to outline the block and actually take and trace out the letter. I also added eyes and mouths to the different figures. The last technique that I used was the line detailing, and this is just basically where I come in and make broad stroke lines on the figures. You will notice with all the figures that every technique was used. Some are more obvious of one style. For example, with the cow figure here, the line work, which is actually spotted looking, was the main customization, even though I did do everything else, including putting the smile on the face and the eyes. So after I customized all the pieces, I let the paint completely dry before moving on to step number 5, which was finishing and signing the pieces. You will notice that when I was priming and painting the pieces that I did not paint the bottoms, and the reason I do that is to do what I call the finish, which is taking a black matte paint and I completely paint the bottom of the figures. After it dries, I come back and I put my signature, which is TSart, and the year of creation, in this case 2019. On a few of the figurines, you will notice that the signature isn't right on the base, and that is because the area might have been too small. And in that case, I'll just incorporate it either onto the back or another area that is not as visible. After all the pieces are signed, I then will move on to step number 6, which is clear coat. I did use a spreadable clear that I'd added glitter and sequins to completely cover the pieces. There are all kinds of clears out there. I suggest looking for one that's water soluble and also one that dries clear. And even though this looks like a white paste, it will dry completely clear. After all of the pieces are clear coated, I will let it dry and then move on to step number 7, which is attaching the magnets. I am using E6000 to glue industrial strength magnets to the figures. Just make sure that you put enough magnets to hold the piece and that you use a liberal amount of glue so that the magnets won't pull away from the figure when you're abandoning the pieces. So after the glue dries, the pieces are ready to be abandoned. I love hearing from people who have found pieces of my art. If you have found a piece, you can send me information about where you found it or any special story about the piece of art to the email on the business card. You can leave a comment down below or send a message to the Facebook Art Abandonment group. If you have liked what you've seen, push the like button, leave a comment, and follow. And as always, happy abandoning.